A team that was once carried by their starting pitching suddenly doesn't have any.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. I've been covering the New York Mets on this show since the 2019 season. This is the only podcast that covers the Mets 7 days a week throughout the regular season. If you want to find some of my written work, you can do so over at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I think I have reached my breaking point. Those of you watching on YouTube, you see it. The hoodie's on today. The hoodie makes me feel safe when things are bad. I've tried throughout the Mets losing streak to maintain a level of optimism. I've tried to. Get swept by the Rays, hey. Rays are the hottest team in baseball. It's all right. Yeah, it's an ugly series, but it's going to happen. You know, the Mets were playing so well at home all year, and they were due to regress back to the mean a little bit. Didn't like how it happened. Didn't like that they lost all 3 games, but hey, it's fine. It's fine. Still in first place. Go out there, go to Atlanta, and beat your division rival. Show that that is not a house of horrors anymore. You exonerated that when you clinched a playoff berth in Atlanta last year. All is good, right? Well, then, you blow a game on Tuesday. David Peterson pitches a gem. You can't quite get to the finish line. That's gut-wrenching. It's a brutal loss. But hey, I'm trying to find the silver linings. I'm telling you how, hey, they had a good game playing against Spencer Schwellenbach, scored some runs against him. That wasn't all bad. David Peterson's still awesome. Yeah, it didn't go their way, and things didn't break right, and you could blame X, Y, and Z, but Francisco Alvarez, we were talking about the call that he made on the pitch, and I was telling you, well, it wasn't that bad. You go back. You can listen to that if you want to. Go back to the Tuesday show, or I guess Wednesday show, breaking down Tuesday's game. I was still relatively optimistic. I was still holding on to a little shred of optimism. I was still feeling like it was going to end soon. And then you get the Wednesday game. Okay? Didn't look good. But Chris Sale was amazing, right? So that was the justification there. Chris Sale nearly completes a shutout. Was awesome. Sometimes a good pitcher is going to beat you. Then we get to this final game. And I really don't even want to spend too much time on it because this team just looks lifeless. And this happens every season. I don't say it to begrudge the 2025 New York Mets because you know what? Even the best teams are going to go through a bad stretch. I'm curious now. The best team ever in the regular season, Seattle Mariners regular season record or regular season wins record. What year is it? Is it 2001? Let's see. 2001. Got that right. Baseball knowledge. Still okay. Let's just see. Okay, now I'm going down a rabbit hole, and you're all going to go on the journey with me. I'm curious. Did the 116-46 Seattle Mariners ever lose 6 in a row? I'm just curious because it might make me feel a little bit better knowing that even if you are literally the best team ever in 162 games, maybe you lost some games at some point. Maybe that happened. Let's see what we got here. Longest losing streak, 4 games. Wow. And it was at the end of the season. September 20th to September 23rd was their longest losing streak at 4 games. Okay, that didn't make me feel better. But remember, that was a 116-win team. My point that I was trying to make still stands. It's going to happen for every team that you go through some brutal stretches. The Mets are about to see the Phillies. We'll talk about this a little bit more coming up, but the Phillies had a horrible stretch just recently, and over the past week and change, they've snapped out of it. I mean, it's going to happen. But it doesn't make it any more fun when you're in it. And the game on Thursday was just another gut-wrencher because early on, you started to forget a little bit about how bad it's been. You started to think, oh, maybe the Mets are going to get to Spencer Strider because every single inning through the first 3, they were at least giving themselves a chance. You had Juan Soto and Pete Alonso each get singles in the first inning. They came with 2 outs. Starling Marte grounded out, so they didn't get anything out of it. But, hey, they got a couple hits. Tyrone Taylor gets a single in the second inning, steals second base. Ronnie Mauricio comes through with a base hit. The Mets have a lead. Awesome. Third inning, Brandon Nimmo, it's a leadoff double. Steals third base. Steals third base with Pete Alonso up. Pete's got to get him in there, but he doesn't. He strikes out. But it felt like, all right, well, you at least were knocking on the door a little bit against Strider. But then in the fourth inning, Spencer Strider strikes at the side, and he pretty much rolled from there. After giving up the double to Nimmo, he retired 12 of the final 13 batters that he faced. The lone exception was a walk issue to Francisco Lindor, but he found it. And then Clay Holmes had it early, and he lost his command late. Through the first 3 innings, did not allow a run. Fourth inning, gives up a leadoff walk, base hit, but was able to settle in to only give up the 1 run. Fifth inning, lost the zone entirely, issued 3 walks and a single. He walked in a run, got a couple of strikeouts, nearly worked out a damage himself, but still was unable to do so. And then Huascar Brazaban came on. He walked in a run, but the Mets got out of that inning. It was still 3-1. So you still theoretically had a chance, although, again, Strider at this point is carving. Bottom of the 6th inning, the game gets completely away. Brazaban loads the bases, gives up a double to Matt Olson, which sinks the Mets basically 6-1, and then they end up getting a 7th run when Justin Hageman comes in, and it ends up being another loss. 6 losses in a row, swept in back-to-back series, lose Kodai Senga, lose Tyler McGill, lose Max Kranick, although that's certainly not as significant as the first 2 injuries, but it's pretty brutal what's going on with this Mets team. And again, you could justify, you could say, oh, hottest team in baseball over the weekend against the Rays, going to Atlanta. The Braves, as I told you, going into the series, have been an above average team, above 500 team at home, and they've been dreadful on the road. So, facing them in Atlanta where they actually play good baseball, where the Mets have historically played horrible baseball, and you have to go up against Spencer Schwellenbach, Chris Sale, and Spencer Strider. Yeah, it wasn't going to be easy, and this is pretty much as bad as it gets. And you can say, oh, well, it's just this stretch. It doesn't make it any less frustrating. It doesn't. And I can justify why this team is still good, and I can tell you all the reasons for it, and I can talk about what I did on yesterday's show. Hey, they still got Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. They should still be able to win games. But it starts to fall on deaf ears for Mets fans who are just frustrated. And I'm sure the frustrations are as high, if not way higher, in that clubhouse. This team wants to get right. But, man, it's rough. And you look at what's coming up ahead, you just don't have any pitching right now. I mean, you are anxiously waiting for Frankie Montas to come back, and apparently he is, and Sean Manaea, and for those 2 guys to lift this rotation back to where it was to start the season. But I said it in the cold open. This was a team that was carried by their starting pitching all year. Kodai Senga's injury has seemed to unravel this rotation, and now suddenly what's been their greatest strength is becoming their greatest weakness, and it's tough for a team to flip on a dime and learn how to win a different way. But they have to right now. This is a team that has to find other ways to win. They got to hit. Say what you want about the pitching in this series. They didn't hit. Granted, it was Sale and Strider in these last 2 games, but they still did not hit, and they had opportunities to. And then after those blown opportunities early, they started chasing. And once you start chasing against Spencer Strider, good luck. Because at that point, he's going to be able to just play with you. And that's what he did. And that's why the Mets lost. What are they going to do with their pitching now that Justin Hageman, who was going to be the starter on Friday, now will be scratched and probably going back to AAA because he threw 40 pitches to close out this game tonight? Well, it seems like a top prospect is going to take the ball on Friday. It's just not the one we wanted. Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. There's something that's going to get a smile on my face for this show. It is Wonderful Pistachios, the snack that is both delicious and nutritious. You can crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios, as it is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you and saturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety of Wonderful Pistachios, especially the smoky barbecue. This is as good of a recommendation as I can give you. This is an empty bag of the smoky barbecue Wonderful Pistachios because they are my favorite snack, whether I'm just here at my desk, if I'm going on a road trip, if I'm heading to the links and going on the golf course, throw this in my bag. Wonderful pistachios really is the perfect grab and go snack. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Help us get closer to our next goal of 14,000 subscribers. We're about 400 away. Appreciate all of you who continue to subscribe. I mentioned Max Kranick's injury in the last segment. That was one of the two roster moves the Mets made today. It is an elbow strain. Max Kranick is optimistic it's not a major injury, but he hit the IL. Ty Adcock was optioned, and the Mets called up two pitchers for the game on Thursday. Justin Hageman came up, and the reports were he was going to either get the start or be the bulk guy in a bullpen game with an opener on Friday. Daniel Nunez also returned. Well, fortunately, the Mets had to use Justin Hageman, so now most likely he's got a one-way ticket right back to Syracuse, you would expect, because the Mets had to grab a starter, and the choice, Blade Tidwell. All week we talked about the potential of Nolan McLean coming up to make his MLB debut, because as I told you, geez, I'm losing my ability to talk here. I think that's what 6 losses in a row does to you. As I told you, though, if the Mets wanted the best possible pitcher on the mound on Friday night, who, by the way, has the proper rest, I believe he's on 5 days rest, Blade Tidwell on 4 days rest, and those guys don't typically go on 4 days rest. If they wanted the best chance to win on Friday night, they would go with Nolan McLean. Instead, they're going Blade Tidwell. Now, why? Tidwell's on the 40-man roster. So you don't have to start his service time clock. I mean, he already did. He's already on the roster. He can make a couple more spot starts. You have 5 options once you put them in an option year, and that's what Tidwell's in now. Why burn an option year for Nolan McLean unless he's going to be a big piece? Why, have him added to the 40-man roster when he won't need to be protected either, because he still has not been in the organization long enough that he's at risk of being in the Rule 5 draft? So there's all these things and reasons why you say, okay, don't bring Nolan McLean up. And obviously they're going to have a developmental reason too. They might think that he needs more time. He needs more seasoning, or they don't want to take their top pitching prospect and say, hey, you saved this team on a 6-game losing streak. You're the guy that's going to be viewed as the savior riding in on your white horse for Mets fans when it's really just a spot start. So I understand all of that stuff, but that doesn't make it an any better look for Friday night. Doesn't make this a great opportunity for the Mets to win a game when you have Blade Tidwell, who granted has pitched fairly well in AAA this year. He had his ERA down to 4.14, but his last start, he gave up 6 runs. 6 runs, believe it was on Sunday. 6 earned runs in AAA. That got his ERA back to 4.76. His one start this year for the Mets, he gave up 6 runs as well. Maybe you're just rolling the dice and saying, well, he won't give up 6 runs again, will he? Look, I think Tidwell is a good prospect. He is. And he might surprise. He might. But I really feel like the Mets are missing out a chance here on giving Nolan McLean a shot, and I don't think that the cons really outweighs the pros. And the pros are you might win a baseball game. Sure, Tidwell can win too. Tidwell can go out there. He can put up 5 scoreless innings and shock us. And that would be amazing. And the Mets might beat Zach Wheeler somehow on Friday night if they can win any game of the first 2. If they can win this game or they can win the game on Saturday. And you got David Peterson going on Sunday. You got a chance in this series. But man, it's a look bad. And then you have the other side of the rotation carousel that it has now become. And Frankie Montas will be back. He will be making the next start. He's going to take a turn in the rotation against the Braves. So that's him back. Full go. He will be in this rotation for the foreseeable future. You're going to ride out whatever he has in store for the Mets here. And you know what? Maybe he locks in. Maybe he gets back up to the show and he's pitching under the bright lights and there's a bunch of fans and it's major league hitters and he's game planning with major league coaches, and all of a sudden we see the guy that earned the $34 million contract from the Mets. Maybe he ends up being the saving grace for this team. Maybe he blanks the Braves through 6 and strikes out 8, and we're all shocked. But he had a brutal rehab stint. He did not have a single good outing. His most recent one was his best. I'll give him that. He looked good the first time through the order, did not give up a run, gave up 2 runs in the 4th inning, but still you could have looked at the first 4 innings and said, all right, not too bad. And then he gave a 3-run homer in his 5th inning. And you look at the overall lines, 5 earned runs and 5 innings pitched this week for Montas. So I don't know what to expect out of him. I really don't. I don't know what the Mets are going to do after Tidwell makes this spot start. He'll obviously be optioned right back down because they won't need him to make another appearance. You will probably burn Hageman. You don't have Brandon Woodell. So if you're thinking about another long man, the earliest they can call up Woodell is, I think, 3 days from now, unless there's another injury that he can, replace that guy on the roster. But we don't know if that's going to happen. So I imagine maybe it's Chris Stefanski that comes up on Saturday, and he's in the bullpen for the rest of the weekend. Maybe he's in the bullpen until Montas makes his start on, I believe it would be on Tuesday. So maybe that's what we see. Stefanski is the guy. It could be Austin Warren. Those are the 2 guys on the 40-man roster that have not been called up recently now that Nunez is back. So that's where you're at right now. The Mets bullpen as presently constructed. I didn't write this in my notes. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head with all the moving parts. You got Edwin Diaz. You got Reed Garrett. You got Huascar Brazaban. You got Jose Budo. You got Ryan Stanek. Those 5 have been consistent all year. You got Daniel Nunez now. You still have Justin Garza, and you have Jose Castillo. So that's your 8-man bullpen. I think I like 4 of those arms. And if you're wondering the 4, it's the 3 guys that have been good all year, Diaz, Garrett, and Brazaban. Although Brazaban's had a couple bad appearances now recently in my memory here. And then the 4th guy, funny enough, is Jose Budo, who caught a lot of flack from me earlier this season, but he has been pitching a lot better. Other 4 guys, Garza has been throwing it pretty good, but how much longer can that continue? We'll find out. Castillo's been up and down. Stanek has been more down than up, and Nunez is an absolute wild card. So that's your bullpen. But then you get to the starting rotation. The Mets have 7 games now left in this 10-game stretch, and they've lost the first 3. 7 games left, 3 in Philly, 4 at home against the Braves. Let's run through the starting pitchers. It'll be Blade Tidwell, Griffin Canning, and David Peterson over the weekend, which honestly looks pretty decent because Canning is, at least in my book, above certainly a Tidwell who's making a spot start. He's better than Blackburn, and I have no idea what to expect from Montas when he comes back, so he's better than him. And you got David Peterson, the one arm you really trust right now. Then the series against the Braves, Paul Blackburn, Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, and Griffin Canning. That'll be your rotation for that series. Meanwhile, you're going to see Zach Wheeler for sure. You're going to see Mick Abel has been throwing the ball well. Jesus Luzardo, who could get hot or could have a good start. He's been really up and down lately, but has certainly still had his fair share of really good starts, particularly at the beginning of the season. And you'll probably see, I think, both Sale and Strider in that series. I think you miss Schwellenbach. But yeah, the Mets, whose starter ERA was under 3 all year, it just crept over 3. This is a team that's going to have to find a new way to win because this rotation, at least right now, you can't expect them to lead the way. You just can't. It's not going to happen. You have to see this lineup step up, bash their way to some victories, see the bullpen actually be nails because if the bullpen was really good this week, you never know. You might have been able to hang into the game today if Brazaban comes on, gets an out, and actually pitches well. You never know. On Monday, if Garrett came in and got the job done, you got a victory there. So the Mets need to see everybody step up across the board. But it's hard to expect too much out of the rotation as presently constructed. This is a team that desperately needs to get healthy. And we'll see. We'll see how these guys are able to roll from here. But I really feel pretty strongly about where this rotation's at and how it's just not good enough right now. And it feels like it just went from great to legitimately bad overnight with one Kodai Senga pulled hamstring. All of a sudden, we're all missing Tyler McGill as well. And it feels like there's one starter in this staff you can trust. Now, Clay Holmes threw the ball really well tonight until he didn't. But early on, he did look really good. But he's thrown more innings than he ever has. And Griffin Canning, who was great, has been bad recently. So I'm going to move on to the series preview to close things out. But it doesn't seem like there is light at the end of the tunnel just yet. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals has reached a 7th game. Every night has delivered highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans now have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And it's not just your NBA action. You also got MLB action. Maybe you want to hedge your happiness a little bit. Bet against the Mets. So, hey, either the Mets win, you feel good, or Mets lose, you win a bet. That's one way to play it. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're an everydayer that's always tuning into the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you get updates from me anytime news breaks in the match. You can ask me questions anytime, take part in our Locked On Mets sign photo giveaways, and get the live graphics sent to your phone each day so you know who's in the starting lineup without ever having to go on social media. All right, Mets versus Phillies in Philadelphia. What can go wrong? Phillies are riding a hot streak. They took 3 of 4 against Miami to start this week. Over the weekend, last weekend, they swept the Blue Jays. So that's 6 of 7. And early last week, they beat the Cubs. So they've actually won 8 of their last 10. Far cry from where they were before that, where we were looking at the Mets, who had a 5.5 game lead in the division, as the Phillies had gotten swept by the Brewers. They lost 2 or 3 against the Blue Jays, and then they got swept by the Pirates. So they had a stretch where they lost 9 of 10, or I guess it was 8 of 9 they lost, and that put them in a hole, and they've climbed all the way out of that hole. So now here we are, 75 games into the season. These are the two teams that are expected to battle it out for the NL East. I talked about on yesterday's show, the Braves would have to play to like a 688 winning percentage to get to 95 wins this year, assuming this division is still won by a team that gets to 95 wins. But for the Braves to win this division, they're going to need both the Mets and the Phillies to fall back to earth, and then they're going to have to be unbelievable. It's still unlikely. It's still looking at this moment, despite the 6-game losing streak, like it's the Mets and the Phillies who will be battling it out all year. And here they are, 75 games into the season, staring at each other eye to eye in the standings. Whoever wins this weekend will be in first place in the National League East, and we'll see how long that team can hold it, because these two teams could be going back and forth all year long. Now, you look at this Phillies lineup, they're missing a big piece. Bryce Harper is out with a wrist injury. Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, and Max Kepler have been picking them up. They've all been pretty hot lately. Kyle Schwarber is hitting 157 over his last 14 games played, but he does have 4 home runs and 10 RBIs during that span. This is a team that has not been hitting particularly well overall. They did not score a lot in Miami. They just were able to outpitch the Marlins to take those 3 games. So there is a world where the Mets might be able to slug their way to some victories. But you got a tough matchup on the first game here because Zach Wheeler's going. And again, going up against Blade Tidwell, that is a massive edge for the Phillies. Now, you never know. Crazy things happen. Blade Tidwell might give the Mets, I don't even know how many pitches he's going to have because his day short in his rest. So I don't even know if it is a full pitch count or he's got 75 pitches to give. I'd be shocked if he's throwing in the 5th inning. I really would. What you really hope for being completely honest, is Blade Tidwell gets through the lineup the first time through without giving up anything. And then anything you get after that is gravy. Anything you get after that. So if you get him through the lineup 2 times through and he actually gets through 4 in maybe 4 and a third or 4 2/3, that could be the win that you're looking for, honestly. Like, you just want to see if you can get 10 outs from Blade Tidwell and still be in the game. You get through 10 outs and you're still in the game, and who knows, maybe he actually pushes it to 12 outs, 13 outs. If he gets 15 outs and he goes through 5, I would be thrilled with Blade Tidwell. But the Mets got to hit, and it's going to be tough to hit against Zach Wheeler, but you got to find a way to do it. You got good hitters that can hit against anybody. You need those guys to step up, especially in a bandbox. I mean, this is an opportunity to hit some cheap home runs playing in Philly. So it's also where you can give up some cheap home runs, though, too. So that'll go both ways. Now, game 2, Griffin Canning versus Mick Abel. Abel has a 2.21 ERA through his first 4 MLB starts. He's looked great. But it's still a rookie, and the Mets can game plan against him, and hopefully they might be able to do some damage. Griffin Canning is due for a good start, so we'll see what he has on the table. Again, if the Mets go in one of the first 2 games, I feel great about the matchup on Sunday. David Peterson versus a struggling Jesus Luzardo. You look at his last 4 starts. He pitched against the Brewers, gave up 12 runs on 12 hits, a disaster. Followed it up by giving up 8 runs against the Blue Jays, but he buckled down, gave up only 1 run over 6 strong innings against the Cubs, where he struck out 10. Then this week, it was back on the losing side facing his former team. I don't know if they lost the game or not, but for him, I guess, back on the struggle bus, he gave up 4 runs on 6 hits, 4 walks, and obviously did not pitch very well. So that's where the Mets are at for this series. Again, if you can get David Peterson a chance to win this series, I feel pretty good. Now I'm trying to look and see if the one game the Marlins won was against Luzardo, and I'm looking at it. I believe it was. That was the game on Tuesday where the Marlins scored 8 runs on the Phillies, because you can hit this Phillies bullpen too. So that's the thing that you got to look for in this series. Get Zach Wheeler off the mound as early as you can. Hopefully you can hit Mick Abel and Jesus Luzardo. The Mets bats, they can win this series. Absolutely. And you need Griffin Canning to step up in a big way on Saturday. You need David Peterson to keep being himself, because he's been awesome. Those things happen. I actually feel better about this series, strangely enough, than I do about the series against the Braves, just because you don't have David Peterson going in that series. And like the Braves, the thing that really sucks about this is the mental edge the Braves have again. And I as much as, of course, I hate the Phillies, I need to make sure I acknowledge that with the Phillies being the next opponent. I don't hate any team in baseball more than I hate the Braves. So when you see the Braves just beating up the Mets, not fun. Not fun at all. And so I'm worried about the Braves coming to town. And I'm also a little bit concerned about this weekend, but I feel pretty good about Sunday. So win a game before Sunday. Maybe the Mets can hold on to a division lead for at least a little bit longer. Granted, if they lose tonight, they'll lose that division lead, but they can grab it right on back this weekend. We'll see how it all plays out. I'll be with you the entire way through. I'll have a show for you tomorrow morning breaking down the latest in the game. I also want to note, I want to leave the show. I forgot about this. I wanted to leave the show on one positive note. I didn't have time to get into prospect stuff. We'll try to do it this weekend, but I wanted to acknowledge the Mets in their minor league affiliates here have 3 teams that are playoff bound. Because for those of you who aren't aware, the minor league season is split up into 2. There's a first half and a second half. They do this because teams have a lot of promotions, so different faces might be there in the second half of the season than in the first half. And so this is a way to sort of give the guys who are playing on their team something to push for in the first half of the season. And the Mets have clinched a playoff berth for being first half winners in low A, high A, and double A. The St. Lucie Mets have a 34-31 record. They're the only team in the Florida State League East that has a winning record. You have the Mets, Cardinals, Marlins, and Reds, who all are in the Florida State League East Division. The West Division, the Florida State League has the Tigers, Yankees, Phillies, Blue Jays, Pirates, Twins. 6 teams, and those teams seem to be beating up a little bit on the East Coast teams. But regardless, the Mets have the best affiliate there to clinch that playoff berth. You have the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, who are 43-21. They've clinched their first half. That's actually a really good team with a good rotation led by Jonah Tong. And Jet Williams has been awesome this year. Ryan Clifford has been solid. So they've had a pretty good season. And the Brooklyn Cyclones have one of the best lineups, I think, in minor league baseball right now, with Jacob Reimer, Carson Benj, Eli Serrano. I'm forgetting a couple guys. Jesus Baez has been better lately. I'm sure there's a couple more that I'm missing. But bottom line, the Cyclones can rake. They've got good pitching this year, and they're 46-20. They have also clinched. So that is one little bit of positive news to end the show with. The Mets teams on the farm are all doing pretty well. Anyway, that's going to be all for this edition of Locked On Mets. I appreciate all of you who tuned in. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on social media, Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider and be part of our texting service, find the link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen, your first watch every day. Now, if you're a second watch, check out Locked On MLB Game Night, which will take you around all the action in Major League Baseball with insight from all of our local experts. You can find Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel, as well as the Locked On MLB podcast feed.